Today we've got a story about a parent that really effed up by letting their daughter watch an iPad for 8 hours. We'll get into that one in just a bit, but first, today I effed up by returning bras at the post office. This happened about a year ago, when I popped to the post office on my lunch break to return 3 bras I'd ordered from Amazon. I didn't realize it was a packing and return service, and I'd already packaged the 3 bras in one bag. Guy behind the counter asks what they are, and I just say clothing items. He scans my QR code using his phone, and the bras show up on the screen, complete with lovely, half-naked models. I shrug to myself. Okay, they're only bras. I refuse to be embarrassed by such things, even if it feels a bit weird and intimate. Then he tells me they need to be in 3 separate bags. Also, hadn't anticipated this. So after struggling to open the bag I'd meticulously wrapped, I have to ask to use his scissors. Then I hand him the first bra. Okay, slightly awkward, but let's move on. Then he asks for the second bra, but the picture on his phone just shows a black bra, also with a lovely half-naked model. But the 2 remaining bras are both black and I can't figure out which one it is. He shows me the description on his phone again. 34 double D, please. With the queue growing, the guy's dad opens the next till across. It's a family-run post office, and I'm dimly aware of an audience. I scramble to find the size on the bra. It's not the first label. Second label? How many freaking labels does a bra need? I hold the bra up to the light to see. Ah, yes, this one is 34 double D. Rapidly, but pretend casually, hand him second bra. He rapidly, but pretend casually, packages it up. I'm conscious at this point that he's holding something that's been against my boobs. We lock eyes, and he knows this too. Third bra we get over with as quickly as possible. Do I need a receipt? Guy won't even look at me now. No, he tells the floor, Amazon will email you. Next time I'm returning undergarments, I'm using a locker. Flashy Watercrest 398 responded, my nephew works for the postal office. Bras? No big deal. He was telling me yesterday about the large box of hissing cockroaches he dealt with last week. And CHRS 89 responded, it was pretty hilarious when I got a box of bees in the mail that one time. They were definitely super careful with them, probably owing to the terror of holding a mesh box of buzzing bees. They were very even-tempered, and I didn't even need my shroud when homing them in their hive because I can understand the terror from an average person. Also, hey everybody, my name is Brendan, and if you guys enjoy these Today I Freaked Up videos, it would be so nice and awesome if you liked the video, comment it down below if you're listening to our podcast. Now then, our next story is, today, I freaked up by believing a work prank on April 1st and embarrassing myself in front of everyone. At work, my boss sent out an all-staff email saying that the company was implementing a 4-day workweek experiment starting next month. We would get all Fridays off with full pay as long as productivity remained high. I nearly lost my mind with excitement. I even replied, "This is amazing, best boss ever," before reading the rest of the email, where he mentioned how this was part of a global initiative called April Fools for Better Work-Life Balance. Realizing my mistake, I tried to unsim the email, but it was too late. People were already reacting with laughing emojis in the company group chat. To make it worse, my boss personally replied, "Glad to see you're passionate about work-life balance. Unfortunately, your excitement is also part of the experiment, how easily employees fall for corporate jokes." But that's not even the worst part. Feeling like a fool, I went home and told my roommate about it, and he tried to comfort me by saying, "Hey, at least you weren't like my friend who fell for that fake celebrity death hoax today." That's when I made Today I Freaked Up number 2. I immediately pulled up my phone and went, "Wait, who died?" He just stared at me. Dude, that was the prank. So yeah, my entire day was one long chain of getting clowned on. Moral of the story, triple check everything on April 1st, or just trust no one. I would have just owned the one at work and acted like you were privy to the joke all along and, just going along with it in a sarcastic way. I think that might have landed a little bit better. And then the celebrity thing, we see that every year. You've just gotta have your walls up a little bit more. Just in general, not just on April Fool's Day. You can't go around believing everything that people say. Lee Uet responded, "Freak up was by your boss. 4-day weeks have been trialed successfully, and better work-life balance is something you should want for your staff, not think it's a punchline." The second one, though, how often did you look up gullible in the dictionary when you were a child? Our next story is, today I freaked up by telling my professor I was gravely ill when I just had a cold. So I, bilingual, born and raised in Germany, emailed a professor to let him know I wouldn't be attending a seminar because I was sick. I never met this professor in person and won't ever have him again. It was just one seminar. Anyway, being bilingual and flipping between my native language and German all the time, I wrote something along the lines of "Ich bin leider schwer erkrankt," thinking that just meant I'm pretty sick or feeling rough. I didn't realize until 2 weeks later that schwer erkrankt in German doesn't just mean sick, it actually implies something way more serious, like gravely or seriously ill. Think hospital level. Now I'm spiraling a little, wondering if the prof thinks I lied. I didn't hear back from him at all. No reply, no concern, no get well soon, just silence. And now I'm sitting here wondering if I accidentally told this man I was on death's door and then just ghosted. I also had a moment of panic, thinking, wait, can a professor in Germany make me get thrown out of uni for lying, even though I didn't intentionally lie? I'm just going to take this moment here to apologize to the audience for my awful butchering of those German phrases, but hey, I tried. Let's read the comments and pretend that never happened. Sky Scamall replied, "For all he knows, you could just be a hypochondriac. It's completely normal in Ireland for someone to say they're absolutely dying and be fine 2 days later. It could be a cold, a hangover, eating something that didn't agree with them. I grant you brief permission to borrow a cultural norm." Our next story is, "Today I freaked out by letting my son give me poison ivy as a gift." So this happened recently and I'm still dealing with the aftermath. On March 25th, my sweet 4-year-old came up to me outside and handed me a little plant he thought was cute. He was so proud and excited and I just melted. Took it from him without thinking twice, told him it was beautiful, and didn't wash my hands right away. Fast forward to April 7th and my legs look like heck. Pics can be found on my profile, but trigger warning for anyone squeamish about rashes or open skin. Apparently, the cute little plant was poison ivy, and I'm very allergic. We didn't even recognize it at the time, so I ended up brushing against it more later, and clearly my body decided to declare war. The silver lining? My son is totally fine and seems to not be allergic at all, thank goodness. But me? I'm over here feeling like I just fought a bear in a briar patch. I'm now on a strong steroid cream and popping antihistamines like candy. 10 out of 10 will now always assume any unknown plant is poison until proven otherwise. Yeah, that sucks. That definitely sucks, but I do think priority in the interim is asking your son where he got those plants from, because if it's anywhere on your property or close by, you may want to get that taken care of, but hopefully you get well soon. Andronicus Park replied, "Hey, so if you have a fireplace or do fire pits in the backyard or whatever, make sure you know where the wood comes from, because I think with your level of allergy, you could really freak up your respiratory system if there was poison ivy on the kindling. I'm really sorry you're going through this, OP. I've seen really bad reactions to that crap." And OP replied to this, "This is a really good point, thank you. I scavenge for wood all the time for a fire pit. This makes sumac even more scary. Feels like it's the hardest to recognize and easiest to pick up as some random firewood since it's thicker. Honestly, glad I posted here, getting some really good info." Our next story is, "Today I freaked up by giving a girl tokens at Chuck E Cheese. Not today, but reminded of it when my daughter told me I was going to be on a list for something and I told her I already was because of the Chuck E Cheese incident. I was a baseball coach once upon a time. One of the families had a younger daughter, maybe 6 or 7 years old if I had to guess, and she would usually be at practice playing off to the side. Birthday party day at Chuck E Cheese and she was there. The brother and sister combo were dropped off, and I'm a sucker for their pizza and games, so I stayed. I'm like the only parent that loved that place, and I took the kids there quite often when they were younger. Striving to be the fun coach, I loaded up my card with an unlimited play option. Anytime I saw a game finishing up for one of the kids, swipe. Want to play games that last 5 seconds? Triple swipe. I made for no game went unplayed. I saw the sister playing a game by herself, so I hopped on over as it was finishing. She went to one of the quick games and I told her to play like a maniac. As she finished, I'd swipe. She was having a blast and I was having fun watching her play, till her dad came over to get her. And this dad was not the dad that I knew. He looked at me longer than I liked, but said nothing. I quickly made my way to the party table to show I wasn't there alone. The sister was sitting at the table and had a similar little sundress on and a dang flower hair clip like the other girl. Thinking back, that's the last time I set for in that place, but only because it would be super weird for me to go there now and grab a pizza. I do miss that crappy cheese pizza though. Yeah, it's probably time to put the kibosh on that fun pastime of yours, although I will say, Chuck E Cheese back in the 80s and 90s was like an experience that will forever be unrivaled. Today's kids will never know. Leaf Fan 101 responded, kind of the inverse of the kid tugging on the pant leg of someone they think they know, only to find out it's a stranger. And Rubik's Fish replied, I remember walking along the beach with my grandma when I was like 7. I looked up to ask her something and, wasn't her. She had broken off to go after my little brother. Our next story is, today I freaked up by breaking my leg and tearily confessed to smoking in front of my mother. So this happened over 10 years ago, but I was reminded of this story the other day and thought I'd share. For context, I'm looking for a new doctor and requested my file from my old doctor and was going through it just out of curiosity and saw a note saying that I had a history of smoking. And honestly, I've only ever smoked once in my life and was so confused as to why this was on my chart, until I saw the date that it was added, which was my 18th birthday, or also the day I broke my leg. Just for some background info, I was raised in a very conservative Catholic family and was taught very young to never drink or do drugs or to smoke, especially if underaged. But smoking was very heavily emphasized due to my grandmother, who used to heavily smoke and now had several health problems because of it. And I was such a little goody two-shoes that, of course, I would never even think about doing such things. My Catholic guilt was in top form at this time, and the thought of disobeying my mom left me too anxious to function. My friend also grew up in a similar family, but was a little more rebellious than me. Nothing crazy, but she picked up smoking from her older sister and would have her sister buy her cigarettes for her since she was still only 17. This was when the law was when you had to be 18, by the way. Well, on the day of my 18th birthday, my friend and I were hanging out after school and she offered me a cigarette, and since I was technically legal now, I said, what the heck, let's at least give it a try, it won't hurt to try just one. So I smoked like half a cigarette before giving it back to my friend because, honestly, it was gross and I did not see the appeal at all. Well, less than an hour later, we were rollerblading through the park when a little kid runs in front of me. I went to quickly dodge him only for me to step onto a crack that was big enough for the wheels on my rollerblade to get wedged in. My foot was truly stuck, but thanks to the laws of physics, my body kept going while my foot stayed in place, until I heard some loud cracks and fell. I think I went into shock right after because the only thing I remember after that was telling my friend to call for an ambulance because I was pretty sure I just broke my leg. I did, in fact, just break my leg, in 3 places to be precise. I remember arriving at the hospital by myself because my friend wasn't allowed with me, and I was super anxious because they were asking me for my medical history and telling me that I would probably need surgery to repair it. And I was like, can we wait for my mom to get here? Like, yes, I'm technically an adult and I should probably know the answers to these questions, but I've only been a legal adult for less than 12 hours. And so far, it's not been a great experience. Give me a break, please. Also, I'm in a lot of pain and can barely think because of it. By the time my mom had made it to the hospital, I was hooked up to an IV and was given some morphine, and boy, was it showing. I remember crying to her about how sorry I was to have bothered her while she was at work, and sorry for making her leave early to come take care of me. Bless my mom, because she just comforted me and told me there's nothing to be sorry about, and that of course she would come take care of me, especially when I was hurt. Well, after a while, the nurses started asking me more questions because they wanted me to go to surgery as soon as possible. They asked if it was possible I was pregnant, did I drink, did I do any drugs. All of them quickly answered with a negative because I was a good girl who never did anything wrong. But then they asked if I smoked and felt my stomach drop. Oh no, I looked at my mom, I looked at my nurse, I looked at my mom, and then, after a way too long pause, I burst into gut-wrenching sobs, just snot and tears pouring down my face when I apologized to my mom over and over again, saying it was only one cigarette and I promised to never do it again and how I was so sorry. I was utterly beside myself. I have no idea what the nurse must have been thinking because I was too busy begging my mom to forgive me. Again, bless my mother, because she hardly bat an eye at the over-the-top confession and was mostly just trying to calm me down. She never brought it up to me afterwards and we never talked about it. I think she was worried I would burst into tears again. So that's the story of how I got history of smoking added to my medical file apparently. You know, low-key, that is kind of funny. I don't know what the protocol is for getting that removed, but I think with a decent explanation, you could probably get that taken off if it's bothering you that much. But good story, and your mom is awesome, by the way. Our next story is, Today, I freaked up by letting a homeless man crash at my place. So I recently moved to a new town about a month ago. I met this homeless guy at a laundromat and he didn't have any money to wash his clothes, so I helped him out. I didn't have any friends yet, and as I've been in hard times before, I decided to hang out with him. So we end up just kicking it the whole day, and I buy him food, booze, and we even get haircuts together. I thought he seemed pretty genuine, so I let him stay at my place, which turned into a couple nights. His obvious fault was that he was an alcoholic, so I drop him off at a local detox facility. This, of course, ramps up to him getting kicked out and him constantly calling me for help, so I start pushing him away slowly because I can't do everything for this guy. I also learn he's been to like every rehab in the state, but doesn't last more than a week at any of them. Somehow his insurance has covered this. He even just shows up at my door one day, so I regretfully let him stay once more, but this is the last time. Well, today he starts blowing me up again, leaving me tons of messages and voicemails. I say, I can't do it anymore, man, I'm sorry. He then leaves me a voicemail threatening me, saying he'll go to jail, I'll have to unalive him, all this nonsense and screaming the N-word. I'm not even black. He then doubles back and says that wasn't meant for me, it was meant for this other guy he knows with the same name. Yeah, we're locking the door tonight. Well, OP, you're a good person for even giving this guy a chance. I mean, definitely some people fall upon hard times, but from my personal experience, living in Los Angeles, most of these homeless people are homeless for a reason and very, very severely mentally ill. So as much as you want to help them, it's definitely best to just keep your distance and let law enforcement handle it if they decide to. But again, props to you for even giving this guy a chance. Zilateb replied, yes, this is one of the reasons you should not attempt to address the homeless problem on an individual level. Better hope he's not also a thief. He knows where you live, what you've got, your basic habits, and is in need of cash. mtrig013 replied, those who are sick and desperate and experiencing withdrawals have killed for a lot less. OP, to be very blunt with you, there's being kind and there's being stupid. If you want to help people, volunteer at a soup kitchen. You'd better hope he doesn't decide to get violent. Seriously, I've seen it firsthand how easily someone would unalive you over a nickel if it meant they got their next fix. Not everyone is capable of murder, but the only way you find out if someone is usually by being murdered. Nobody needs a stranger in their home, ever. A deadbolt won't stop someone who's desperate. You genuinely may need to actually move. I'd say this is going to be a freak up that keeps on giving. I really hope others read this post and learn to never ever do this. If you've got $200 in your wallet, you don't need to hand it to someone on the street because you feel like being virtuous. Helping him wash his clothes was enough, and even then I'd say that was more than enough. Users can sniff people just like you out like a bloodhound looking for a steak, and users usually flock together. I'd hope he doesn't have any friends to bring around. Be generous. The world needs generosity, so keep your good heart, but be smart about it. Don't be stupid nice. Those are the ones that get killed. And if he continues to threaten you, file a police report every single time so that it's at least on paper, in the event you're left not being able to tell the police who hurt you. I'm not trying to scare you, but what I'm saying is real. It's real life. This isn't just some crazy drunk leaving you weird voicemails. This could turn really quickly, and you seem young, and it seems your parents never taught you the world can be dangerous. I'm sorry they failed you in that regard, but the world can be very dangerous, and you need to respond to danger accordingly. And you need to please never dangle yourself like a steak in front of a bloodhound ever again. Our next story is, today I freaked up by making a 5 big brooms joke on a first date. Wow, I'd never thought I'd post on a subreddit like this, but I came back from a first date a couple of hours ago and am still feeling absolutely mortified, so maybe writing it out will feel cathartic. I, 20-year-old female, recently downloaded Hinge for the first time and began swiping. I've never gone out on a date through a dating app before, so safe to say, I was absolutely crapping bricks for tonight's first date with Brian, 22-year-old male. Although we started talking off the app prior to the date, we hadn't actually spoken on the phone, so I didn't really know what to expect in terms of how our conversation would flow in person. Fast forward to tonight, and we ended up meeting at this cute paint bar. Everything was going great until the topic of pets was brought up. He noticed my lock screen of my cat and asked if it was mine. I said yes and asked about his pets, as I remembered he had a pic with 2 dogs on his profile. He got out his phone to show me pictures of them and sadly told me how one of them, a white, crunchy-looking Yorkie named Roxy, had recently passed after New Year's. Now, I have no idea what possessed me in that moment. Maybe Satan, maybe Roxy, but I simply responded, "Aw, she gets 5 big brooms." He weirdly looked at me and just went, "What?" It was in that moment I knew I freaked up. He didn't get the reference. I knew I had already shot myself in the foot when I said it, as I'm awful when it comes to sensitive topics like death or grieving, but I had hoped he'd get a little laugh and we'd move on. But no, I initially tried sweeping it under the rug by saying, "Oh, it's nothing, it's just from this silly video," but he proceeded to ask me to show it to him. I awkwardly laughed and went, "Really? Really?" So I opened up TikTok and showed him the clip. Brian, and I'm assuming Roxy, RIP, didn't find it funny. He just sat there and went, "Oh, I get it now." From that point, I knew the date was doomed, so I just gave him an apologetic smile and tried to make the most of things by placating the situation. Thankfully, we were wrapping up with our paintings by then. All in all, now I know not to try to lighten the mood of a grieving dog parent by bringing up a brain rot joke, especially on a first date. Sorry, Brian, and sorry, Roxy. You deserve more than 5 big brooms. Update. I think this is where you put it. Oh my God. I'm a little terrified at how over 800,000 people viewed my story, but it looks like my faux pas made at least a few of you smile, so at least there's that. Brian, which isn't his real name, to all of our surprise, texted me this morning saying how he had a good time last night and would like to see me again. I guess the 5 big brooms didn't scare him away after all. In all seriousness though, thank you for the much needed laugh. And for those who are disappointed by my TikTok usage, try not to worry about the future generation too much. We can be driven and also enjoy an extremely dumb joke here and there. Well, I'll openly admit my reaction would have been the exact same as Brian's because I have no idea what she's talking about. Call me old-fashioned, I don't use TikTok, I'm not on it, so I don't get the joke. But yeah, apparently it's funny and it fits the situation. So yeah, let's jump into the comments. Jay-Z replied, "I don't get the reference at all. I guess I'm too old. Anyway, if you want to see him again, just be honest about it. A lot of people, myself included, is awkward and uncomfortable around the topic of death and grief. It's so easy to put your foot in your mouth trying to say the perfect thing. He might be receptive if you just lay it out on the table. Good luck." Our next story is, today I freaked up by realizing almost a year later that my internship contract has a bunch of typos. So I just realized I signed a contract last June with multiple typos, and now I feel like an idiot for not catching them sooner. The contract says my internship runs from August 2024 to May 2024, but it should be May 2025. It also says I'll get 20 semi-monthly payments, but when I did the math, there are only 17. Even the payment dates are incorrect, saying my last payment is in May 2024. At least the amount they pay me is correct. Now I have to email HR and explain that I basically just noticed this a year later. This is also making me feel so anxious and terrible about myself for not noticing. I guess this is a learning lesson for me to literally dissect the next contract I get. Not the end of the world, honestly, this happens more often than OP probably thinks, but yeah, easy to correct, I don't think you have anything to worry about here. Battered Onion Rings replied, "Those typos don't sound important. I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is that if the intent is clear, typos in a contract do not matter. You can't have an internship in the past or make type run backwards. You also can't have 20 semi-monthly events in less than 10 minutes. Don't sweat it. It doesn't matter legally, and it's not that embarrassing. Our brains skip over things that obviously make no sense, like your internship ending before it started. You thought it said 2025 because it was obviously supposed to, and the number of payments thing just doesn't matter. There's no reason you would do the math and make sure it made sense." Morlick replied, "So if May 2024 is a clear typo, then how is any educating body supposed to know that the correct date should have been May 2025 instead of 2026? That's more than just a misspelled word. It's completely changing the information with no way of knowing or proving what the correct date was." Our next story is, today I freaked up by letting my daughter watch an iPad on an 8-hour-long car journey. 2 weeks ago, I went on an 8-hour car journey for a holiday, and for the first 3 hours, so far so good. Then my daughter says, "Dad, can I have my iPad?" I say, "Aren't you queasy with it in the car?" She then insists no, so I obliged. She was watching YouTube Kids with her headphones in when she vomited, just after our food stop, down my back. The vomit ran down my shirt while the next service station is 50 miles away. When we arrived at the service station, I could not get it out. so we continued on. However, even with her iPad taken away, she vomited again down the open window, and it all went in the crevice where the window goes when you put it down. When we arrived, the vomit had dried on my shirt, my back, and the seat, and the other vomit was still in the crevice. I had a shower and scrubbed the vomit off of the seats using a paper towel and water. I then took the car to the car wash, who better cleaned the seats and the carpet. A bill of 130 pounds. They tried to clean the vomit from the crevice but failed. They said to go see a mechanic. Due to me being in a remote village in Scotland, there was no mechanic nearby, so I had to make the 42-mile drive to one. They dismantled the door and cleaned the vomit from the crevice. I got a bill of 230 pounds. I got back to the hotel at around 9:30 p.m. I had missed dinner, so I had to order room service for myself at 10 o'clock at night and quietly eat it to not wake up the others. I also effed up by not having the vomit bags readily available. Okay, this is a weird, random, and disgusting story. How does watching an iPad while in the car just induce this hyper-vomiting episode? I'm not really following. And then the fact that only a mechanic can clean it out of the crevices of the car, this is a weird one. This is a weird one, not gonna lie. Our next story is, today I freaked up by having head surgery and waking up mid-dart tournament in my mind. So yeah, this happened today and I'm still processing both the medical part and the utter blinding embarrassment that followed. I had a double surgery on my head. I won't get into the specifics, but imagine two surgeons spelunking into my skull like it's a Minecraft biome, looking for whatever the heck was broken. Great start already. Part of the story that it wasn't a brain surgery. They've just worked extremely close to my brain and eyes. Now I arrived early and to calm my nerves, I played Boombit Darts Club on my phone. I'm on the autism spectrum, HFA, and I'm pretty much obsessed with this game and I play a lot. I'm also quite high ranked on the world rank list, and I play very nice professional players every day. So I played for 2 hours straight. I wasn't just casually playing, I was in full tryhard mode, as my life depends on it, as the only possible side effect of this surgery was brain damage, so I thought this could be my last grind. Every throw, every bullseye, I was telling myself, you've got this, become the dart, be the dart. Eventually, it's time for the anesthesia. They wheel me in, I'm already buzzing from the IV drip, but still clutching imaginary darts in my mind. My last semi-coherent thought before blacking out was, alright, one more 180 for glory. Then the lights go out. Smash cut to, I wake up, still woozy, eyes half closed, brain doing the Windows XP reboot sound, but my subconscious fully locked in because folks, I woke up still thinking I was playing Darts Club, and I committed. I literally raised my hand like I was holding a phone. I stared at nothing. I lined up the shot with imaginary crosshairs, took a deep breath, and threw my first dart. Only in my mind though. My body, post-surgery burrito mode. The dart didn't release, so I frowned, reset, and lined up again. Still nothing. Didn't release for 20 seconds, and my time ran out. Disappointment. Pure, unfiltered disappointment. I made an audible groan, like I just missed $1 million jackpot, and then I heard it. Soft voices in the room. Nurse 1 goes, "Is he awake?" Nurse 2, "I think he's playing some kind of mobile game." Doctor says, "Does he think he's bowling?" "No, doctor, I don't think I'm bowling. I'm deep in an imaginary professional darts match, and I'm trying to recover from a missed triple 20, okay?" Realizing they were watching this unfold in real time, I panicked and tried to look casual, so I started scratching my forehead. With what? My fully bandaged, post-op head wrapped like a mummy's ego. I looked like I was trying to interpret alien signals with my eyebrows. Then came the laughter. My own. I let out this weird, semi-unhinged, still loopy laugh. Not a normal chuckle, it was more like a cartoon villain doing taxes. I couldn't stop. The nurses kind of stepped back, and one of them looked concerned, and another just whispered, "He's probably fine." Eventually, my brain rebooted fully, and I realized I had just reenacted an invisible darts championship with an audience of actual medical professionals who had just cracked open my skull. So it was a whack-a-frap moment again. If you remember my post about the mysterious laptop I bought that didn't work if an unshowered male user used it, if not, go and find it. It went viral. It was gold. So yeah, today I freaked up by not only playing mobile darts before head surgery, but also waking up and trying to finish the match of my dreams, out loud, with my body. If you ever want to feel pure shame while also being physically numb and mentally baked, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. I asked AI to polish up the story as I told it, as I can't write or type yet. I would say that AI definitely did its job in making the story sound epic beyond all imagination. Good job. Our next story is, today I freaked up by accidentally ruining my LDR girlfriend's big surprise visit. So yeah, this just happened and I feel like the biggest idiot right now. My girlfriend and I have been in a long-distance relationship since October because of a job I took in a different city. It was tough at first, but we eventually found a rhythm. We'd been visiting each other roughly once a month and it was going pretty well. This time around, she had to go back to her hometown for a bit to handle some personal stuff and spend time with family. So we knew there would be a longer than usual wait before we could meet again. She mentioned she might be going on a family trip in May, so I mentally prepared myself for even more distance. We had loosely planned for her to visit me around the 20th of May, and we decided her mom could tag along. I was excited to show them both around, but then she starts getting cagey, says she'd only stay for 3 days. Original plan was to have her mom leave in 3 days and then she'd stay for a few more. After a couple months apart, that felt way too short. I tried to reason with her, told her it didn't make much sense, but she kept being vague and brushing it off. I got a little upset, but eventually dropped it. A few days later, I thought maybe I can go to her instead, so I ask if I can visit her in her hometown around April 26th. She again dodges it and says she'll be busy with family stuff, wouldn't be a good time, etc. I was annoyed again and told her I'd just talk to her later. So I call up one of my friends and ask if he wants to go on a quick getaway. He gets super excited and suggests a road trip to the mountains, even offers to drive. Only thing is, he's free after May 6th. I figure, perfect, my girlfriend will be off on her family trip anyway. The next day, I call her and enthusiastically tell her all about the road trip plans. She goes dead silent. Then, in the softest voice ever, she says, "I was going to surprise you on May 9th. She had canceled on her actual family trip to come visit me. Had a whole plan worked out. She was going to sneak in on a Sunday afternoon because she knows I'd definitely be home, pretend she ordered me breakfast, tell me to go downstairs to pick it up, and there she'd be, standing outside with the biggest smile. She even had a fight with her mom over it, all just to surprise me and spend time together after such a long gap. I felt like absolute trash. She was trying to be all sneaky and distant so the surprise would hit harder, and I, completely oblivious, decided to plan a road trip with my buddy right on the same date. She was so disappointed she started crying, and honestly, I don't even have words for how bad I feel. At the same time, I've never felt so loved in my life. The fact that she would do all that just to make me happy? I'm floored. We talked it out, and we both know it was just a tragic misfire, nobody's fault. Just terrible timing, but still, I feel awful about it and I want to make it up to her somehow. Reddit, how do I redeem myself here? Edit, of course I've canceled my road trip plan. The tragedy here is that the surprise is ruined. I understand why you feel bad, OP, but on the other hand, you really didn't do anything wrong. You were responding to news that you trusted and believed. Not that your girlfriend was necessarily lying to you. You know, she's obviously planning this really cool, awesome surprise, but like the fact that she's so stiff on the other end, you know, you're kind of like, okay, well, I want to do something. So me thinking like a guy, I probably would have done the same thing, but the fact that you guys were able to work it out and find, you know, something special to do with just the two of you. I mean, ultimately, that's all that matters, is that you two are together, spending time together. But yeah, she really loves you, no doubt about that. Background Bid 8149 replied, "Thing about surprises is that you don't know about them. Perfectly reasonable for you to make plans when she confirmed she couldn't see you. Just meet her on the 9th and enjoy your time together." Our next story is, today I freaked up by joining the Mormon church. So my friend is a devout Mormon and he invited me to church. I went a few times. Everybody was really nice and overall I enjoyed it. The missionaries kept wanting to meet with me. I thought it was a bit odd that they wanted to meet every day, but just brushed it off as them caring about me. Since then, I've been baptized and accepted into the priesthood. Fast forward a few weeks. I've missed a couple of Sundays and they will not leave me alone. They call, I don't answer. They want me in a Book of Mormon Bible study where we read a chapter of the Book of Mormon every night. All of this is taking away from the positive experiences I had in the beginning. I feel bad because I want to leave, but I do not know how to tell my friend and how he will take it, as he can be very judgmental. I should have listened to my girlfriend and family and never went. You know, for those devout Mormons, this is a really big deal, so you shouldn't have committed to getting baptized and, you know, committing to the faith if you didn't plan on honoring it to the best of your ability. And, so missing Sundays and skipping Bible studies, you're well within your rights to do that. But it's like you kind of took that first major step by committing in the first place. Instead of dipping your toe in the water, you just cannonballed into the deep end. So leave the church if it's not your jam, but totally, absolutely be prepared to be judged and blackballed by them. Iron Rod Stewart replied, "Right now, the missionaries are telling their local leaders that the adversary, Satan, is working hard on you. Getting you back at church is their sole purpose right now. The good news is, if you don't believe in it and don't like it, there's absolutely no way you'll last there. And they will eventually get tired and move on to their next shiny new convert. You can officially resign, though it's a bigger pain in the butt to do than it should be. Good luck, and feel free to DM me. I'm full of advice." Former LDS missionary and former LDS. Our next story is, "Today I freaked up by throwing away a child's teddy bear and having a dumpster dive. I work at a daycare. Yesterday we were cleaning up after closing, and one of the moms came back and said her toddler son brought a stuffed animal but didn't come home with it. They're not really supposed to bring their own toys, but of course my supervisor asked us to look for it. And I realized I actually saw the bear, but I assumed it was the center's. And because of safety, part of our cleanup routine is to toss toys if they're worn out. So you see where this is going. It was really bad timing. We literally just brought bags to the dumpster. She's not happy and pretty much insisted we go look for it anyway. I felt bad for her, but that was too much. My supervisor said it was up to me if I wanted to, but I felt like I couldn't really say no because it was kind of my fault. Needless to say, I'm glad I have today off. I think a quick dumpster dive and finding that teddy bear is well worth eliminating that guilt that would have ate away at you, possibly forever. So good for you, and I'm sure that the kid honestly will appreciate it." Sword and Magic Helmet replied, "Good of you to do it though. Those early stuffed animals can mean a whole lot to kids. My wife's mom donated her favorite bear, and she still gets grief about it." Our next story is, "Today I freaked up by telling a stupid joke. On Monday, I, 42-year-old female, went on probably the best date of my entire life. We'll call him Great Date Guy, 48-year-old male. I met him on Tinder and decided to meet for dinner near my apartment. He brought the most amazing energy to the date. We laughed, ADHD vibing, both of us have it, and it was just the most amazing time. He came back to my place. We both agreed to keep things out of the bedroom and take things slow. I agreed, no problem. The night ended with amazing kisses and plans to see each other again on Friday. Now, before the date, I asked Great Date Guy to come to me because I went on 2 dates with someone who told me he couldn't come to me because he's broke. I drove an hour one way for 2 dates and make half of what he makes a year. Or so he said, who knows. Anyway, the Great Date Guy agreed to come to me. So Tuesday, we've been texting when we could all day, because we're at work, etc., because he'd planned the date for Friday. He had mentioned on Monday that he would like to see me again before Friday if possible. So Tuesday, I asked if he wanted to meet again before Friday, to which he said he wouldn't have his car until Friday. And cue my stupid freaking sense of humor. Here's where I freaked up. Because we'd had so much fun, vibing, great banter, etc., I thought it would be a good joke to say, if you're going to be like that other guy, I might have to rethink this situation. He texted back saying, I understand. No hard feelings. I wish you the very best. I immediately text back saying I came to him, but he'd already blocked me. I called. It goes straight to voicemail. I feel like such an idiot. I've cried several times over it. I really, really like him and hate myself for possibly ruining an amazing opportunity and relationship. Edit. To clarify, we both joked about it. He even asked about it during dinner. He shared things about his ex with me and dating since joining Tinder. He asked about my experiences, etc. We talked about all of our tattoos, favorite movies and shows, family, like we went down the ADHD rabbit hole of tangent conversation. The night ended with us cuddling in my oversized chair listening to music we both enjoyed. I was using my phone to play music, and I was holding the phone on my hip while he searched a song. We both took turns sharing songs we liked, made out a bit, and when he hugged me, he squeezed, saying I was the perfect height. He went home, texted me, I was weird and adorable. We both joked about being weirdos through the whole date. He even planned the next date. He texted me links to where we were going, and we were going to meet at the first spot. We were both texting about how excited we were to see each other again. I understand, the joke was in poor taste on so many levels. However, my neurodivergent ADHDer will tell you, sometimes the filter has a giant hole and everything spills out without an ounce of forethought. and with previous tangents the night before, it seemed to go with our banter we had going. I did send it with emojis. I reached out and left voicemail. I also emailed him. All I know is I freaked up, and I'm sorry I hurt his feelings. I have a dark sense of humor and learn to think before I joke. Okay, so my first question was going to be, did you send emojis to convey exactly whether or not it was a joke? And you did, so you cleared that up. But I don't know, I think it might be a little bit too soon to be like making that quote-unquote other guys comparison. You've been on one date, you've talked on a dating app for a little while. So maybe jump the gun a little bit. Hope you can salvage it, because it sounds like you really like him and he really likes you. So, love should prevail in the end. Let's hope. Alginator replied, I did not expect that to be the joke you made. And I don't really think it was a joke either. Intentional or not, I feel like it was a test, wanting to make sure he really isn't like that other guy. For Great Date Guy's part, I think he may have also been sick of being compared to that other guy. First date down, and just in this post you've brought him up twice. I don't know how many times you brought him up before, but even twice is too much for the getting to know you stage. You have a couple of options here. If you're still matched on Tinder, reach out, let him know you're genuinely sorry for what you said and that you had intended it to be funny, and while you would like to continue seeing where things go, that you will also understand if he chooses to go separate ways. The other option is therapy. You sound skeptical of dates, very distrusting, and in this world, I can't really blame you. But you need to work on you first before finding someone. I worked hard on myself in therapy before I met my partner, and even now, I still need a lot of work. But I'm way better than I was pre-therapy. Good luck and Godspeed, friend. Earl the Crazy replied, this is why I always play it safe with my jokes while getting to know someone. Just your mom and Holocaust jokes, extra Riz points if you combine the two. Obviously, this is a joke. See how funny it was? Hopefully that is obvious. Our next story is, today I freaked up by literally forgetting my dang exam. This happened in late March, so not too long ago as of posting, but I'm still so incredibly frustrated and mad at myself that I let this happen. I study a creative field at a university, and our exams are all hand-ins online. For my art class, we had to hand in a portfolio of stuff we've drawn over the semester and a few other specialized projects like a storyboard, for example. The website we used to deliver our exam said the deadline for this art exam was on Friday, the 21st of March at 2 p.m. Every student in the class knew this, including me. My entire project is done and ready to be handed in, and I just need to wait until the few days before the deadline when the exam opens for deliveries. So I do. I wait a couple days before the deadline, finished project sitting in my hard drive. The exam opens, but I'm busy with family stuff and another class at the time, so I put off the delivery. By the end of the day, I'm tired and I think, it doesn't matter if I wait, I'll just do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and I, yet again, don't deliver it due to a combination of being busy and procrastinating. I think the same thing as I did the night before, except I had also made plans to meet up with people from my class to watch a movie with them in the uni building later that night of the deadline day. Since I had managed to sleep past a meetup time before, I focused up and made sure I didn't this time, consuming most of my attention and thought into that. So I wake up the next day, exam completely gone from my mind, as I do what I need to do that day before getting ready to leave to go to the watch party. When I get there, I look at the time on my phone and see the date as well. That jolts my memory up to speed and makes me think about the exam again. The deadline was at 2 p.m. and the time was 6 p.m. I dang near had a heart attack before emailing my professor explaining the situation and asking what could be done. He told me to email the counselor, which I did, and he said I should retake the subject next semester. Then I had to sit through a watch party with students from my class who no longer had to worry about that exam, while I was incredibly frustrated and angry with myself for letting this happen. That's not even considering the shame and embarrassment I'd feel if any of them knew what had happened. I still haven't told anyone, and I'm not sure when I will. Sorry, OP, this one's on you. You yourself brought up 3 separate instances just in this post where it was on your mind, but you chose to do something else anyway. And, that's the fallacy associated with procrastination. Just saying, you didn't forget per se. It was on your mind and you were doing other things. So, that's just part of being an adult, the opportunity cost. Everything you do comes at the expense of not doing something else. So hopefully lesson learned and, you'll get through that class one day. Fuzzy Logic Zero commented, I once got the wrong day for an exam. I, for some reason, was completely convinced it was on Tuesday. Studied the whole weekend and Monday, arrived at the venue on Tuesday morning. Saw a friend whose partner was doing mass with me and asked where the exam was because it wasn't on the board for today. She told me it was the previous day. They had their law exam and I made her panic for me. I ran up to the math department and spoke to my professor, who was head of the department, and I believe is now the vice chancellor of the university. In short, they were brilliant. I could pay a lot for them to write a new paper specifically for me in a couple days, or pay a little, well, the normal amount, but a lot less than the above, to take the catch-up exam in the summer holidays. I lived in the same town, so just opted for the catch-up. Confused the admissions people the next year when they saw that I both aced the course and had to take the catch-up. Our next story is, today I freaked up by giving my husband a playful pat. So this morning, while I was at work, my husband texted me and told me he'd have a surprise for me when I got home. Obviously, I tried bugging him about it a bit over text, but he wasn't budging on telling me. So I just told him I was excited to see what the surprise was. When I came home, my husband wasn't at our apartment yet. So I just sat on the couch and waited for him to come home. He came home with Thai food shortly after, which I thought was the surprise. He said that it wasn't. Then he came up to me, gave me a kiss, and asked what I wanted to drink before he showed me the surprise. I told him what I wanted, then gave him a pretty crisp smack on the hips, right by the groin. We smack each other like that. He usually goes for the butt, I go for his hip and his butt, all the time. We aren't exactly gentle with it, but we're not going hard either. We basically do it firm enough to make the sound loud. I should also mention that my husband is pretty thin. Instead of reacting the way he normally does, he jolted, bent over, and said "freak" really loudly, like I'd heard him. Obviously, I immediately started apologizing and asking him if he was okay. He took a second, told me it was fine, then pulled his pants down and showed me the surprise. A brand new tattoo over his hip, groin, and lower stomach area, right where I smacked him. Oh yeah, that wasn't really what I was expecting. Sounds like a very painful place to get a tattoo. I thought that maybe he just got like a little nut tap and went down, but yeah, I got nothing else to add here. That's a weird one. Our next story is, today I freaked up by overdosing on herbal tea. When I was pregnant, I avoided herbal teas containing licorice root because it's advised against in my country, UK, and mentioned on the NHS website. I had no underlying conditions, just following the guidance. After giving birth, my husband gifted me a variety of herbal teas, and I started drinking them regularly, about 3 to 4 cups a day. The teas were like lemon and ginger, nothing that was licorice flavor, but they happened to contain licorice root. Around 6 weeks postpartum, I started noticing that my body felt swollen and itchy, but I assumed it was just my hormones still adjusting after pregnancy. At my checkup, my midwife asked if I'd been feeling stressed. I mean, I had a newborn and a toddler, so I was definitely tired, but I didn't feel particularly unwell. She checked my blood pressure, and it was dangerously high, around 180 plus over 120 plus mmHg. Alarmed, she referred me to a doctor immediately. The doctor ran tests, including an ECG, and was preparing to put me on medication. He was baffled by how my blood pressure had spiked so suddenly. As I was about to leave, he paused and asked, "Wait, do you eat licorice?" I told him no, but I'd been drinking herbal teas that contained licorice root. His face lit up with relief, and he told me to stop drinking the tea immediately and try to relax as much as possible. Easier said than done with a screaming newborn and a toddler. Shortly after, I felt my heart tighten, and I ended up in the hospital, where they had to monitor me and put me on blood pressure medication right away. I had to stay on it for 6 weeks before my blood pressure returned to normal. Turns out I had licorice poisoning. This is a real and dangerous thing. Licorice root can cause a dangerous rise in blood pressure, even in healthy people if consumed in excess. Didn't think 3/4 cups of tea was excessive. So if you drink herbal tea, beware. It was a popular tea brand, but I don't know if I can out them. Okay, wow, definitely learned something today. Had no idea that this could be toxic or potentially poisonous and lead to rise in blood pressure. Just makes you want to stay away from stuff like that entirely, knowing that it can cause, a healthy person to have to go through this. That's terrible, but thank you for sharing. Bronx Bell replied, "Are you freaking kidding me? My cardiologist and I have been trying to figure out why I have high blood pressure and low sodium. Ridiculously difficult to treat both together, and I drink tea with licorice root all the time. Thank you so much for posting this. I drink it for my stomach issues and just last week was in the hospital for tachycardia." Mistress Lydia replied, You're seeing a cardiologist and they've not asked about licorice? That's a heck of a brain fart from them. And Bronx Bell replied, nope, it's never been mentioned. I have heart damage from getting drugged at a party a few years ago, so they've mostly focused on that. Only thing they've ever asked about is alcohol and tobacco consumption, but they're convinced the high blood pressure isn't from the damage. I have an appointment next week and I'm going to bring it up. Our next story is, today I freaked out by accidentally violating an NDA during a consultation and now my company might get sued. Not today, but last week, I, male, 26 years old, was in a consultation with our parent company. Nothing out of the ordinary, we had these kind of meetings before. But then I opened my mouth and made the mistake. I referenced information that was covered under an NDA. I didn't even think about it in the moment. It just slipped out, but the moment the words left my mouth, I could feel the shift in the room. Monday is when I realized how screwed I am. Came to work to find my inbox was blowing up. The legal team has been looped in. My managers have pulled me into an emergency meeting. I was sure I was going to get the boot, but it's worse. Our parent company might sue us for unfair commercial practices and conflict of interest. If that happens, I'm beyond cooked. I'm still employed, for now, but the worst part is I don't know what's going to happen. There are financial penalties in the NDA. Regardless of what happens, I'll be on the hook for damages. I'm not worried about becoming bankrupt. It's the career-limiting blunder that I can't shake. I've made mistakes before, sure, but this is next level. I feel like I just hit the eject button on everything I worked for. I have a meeting coming up with our legal team, and I'm dreading it. Has anyone ever been in a situation like this? Is there any way I don't come out of this absolutely wrecked? I myself have signed many NDAs, but I've never violated them for fear of dealing with exactly what you're dealing with right now. So I can't offer any advice on what to do, but let's see if someone knows in the comments. Ginger G Cups replied, I have questions. Why would a parent company even be in commercial competition with a subsidiary? Wouldn't a parent company have access to or ultimate ownership of the information of a subsidiary that would be covered by an NDA? Why would a company in competition with another hold regular meetings together where employees can just blurt out things covered by an NDA in an off-the-cuff comment? Why would a parent company even need to sue a subsidiary when they can influence them directly through the management structure? If the consequences for such an action are so serious, why hasn't OP said they've lawyered up and instead is asking Reddit what to do? As drunk can be replied, it seems a bit suspect, but there are jurisdictions where, for regulatory reasons, a parent company is allowed to be a parent company. But the subsidiary must run independently and isn't automatically permitted to share information with the parent. The parent company is more like a majority shareholder in that regard, and the law does not allow shareholders blanket unlimited access to the commercial information of the company. In European terms, this means under GDPR that the subsidiary is not permitted to share personal data on customers or staff with the parent company unless there's good reason, like paying them. An NDA would also be covered here, since the agreement would be between the customer and the subsidiary, not the parent company. Our next story is, today I freaked out by peeing myself at work. Today I, 25-year-old female, freaked out by peeing myself at work an hour ago. I work in retail and this is a new job. I just got hired as department head. Anyway, today I went in like every other day, except for one difference. I have a UTI, so I'm going about my day in my area helping customers find what they need cutting their items. Then it happened, right in front of a customer. My body needed to pee. I tried holding it, but nothing would stop it. In 1 second, my pants were completely soaked. I apologized and needed to step away. I hid in the back of the store because the bathrooms were in the front as well as the exits. I had to call my manager back and explain what had just happened. Thankfully, he let me leave through the back exit. Now I'm sitting in the parking lot, changed, and have to clock back in. I'm so embarrassed I could die. Look, the bodily faux pas, we've all been there. If you didn't come into this world as a baby pissing and crapping yourself, you're definitely going to get to an age where you can't control it, and then everything in between, a UTI again, nothing that you have any control over. I get your embarrassment, but again, comfort yourself in knowing that it happens to everybody. You're doing great. Eggs627 replied, I farted uncontrollably in front of a customer. I bent down to get something from a shelf for them. I was already holding back the gas until I went by the loading dock. I couldn't have held that bad boy in if I tried. I bent forward and I handed the customer their product and just hightailed it out of there. Our next story is, today I freaked up by running a bath. So I decided to treat myself to a nice, relaxing bath after a long day at work. I turned on the water, and since I knew it would take a while to fill, the water pressure is absolutely awful, I went to grab a cold drink, my book, and also put a load of laundry on. I then also got distracted by a text that I won't even bother getting into. The bath was pretty much an afterthought at this point. Then, what do you know? The fire alarm starts blaring through the building. I freaked out and, well, ran to evacuate as one does. Shoes, jacket, run, is all I thought. Silly is an understatement. It honestly did not hit me for about 40 minutes, which is crazy, but once it did, oh my freaking god. My heart dropped and I started panicking, but we weren't cleared to go back in the building yet. I was dang near crying thinking, I'm so freaking stupid. Fast forward and we finally get the all clear. I ran back so fast, people probably thought, what on earth? I get inside, run to the bathroom, and yes, of course, the entire ocean is there with me, pouring and pouring out. Luckily, I don't have carpet, but that didn't even matter with how bad this was. What a freaking mess, and it was scalding hot. I'm burning myself trying to turn the faucet off and run to grab my mop to try and pop the plug out, which did not go well at all. I broke down completely and gave up for about an hour, also to let the water cool down. No amount of towels could save this mess, but it's finally sorted, mainly. I have a few more bills to pay now, though. God, this was an awful experience, and I will never, ever do this again. Okay, so first thought here is most baths, built in the 21st century certainly, but I would say within the last 60 years, have overflow drains that prevent this sort of thing from happening, where once the water reaches a certain level, it just starts to drain itself automatically so that this doesn't happen. So I'm going to need some more deets. Let's read the comments. Recall replied, "Your bath doesn't have an overflow drain? Those are required here in Canada, so if I left my bath running, there's zero way it can overflow. They aren't required, however, in kitchen/laundry sinks, and I had my laundry sink overflow when I forgot it was filling to defrost a turkey one Thanksgiving, which ended up flooding my laundry room a little." The Flying M16 replied, "Newer construction here in the USA has these. However, if the water pressure is anything but abysmal, it will be filling faster than the overflow can drain. My first 3 years of apartment maintenance was in student housing, and I've been called to more flooded apartments than you can shake a stick at. Drunk kids pouring a bath at 1 a.m. and passing out with the water running was the most common cause." Our next story is, "Today, I freaked out by driving through a tornado to see my girlfriend. Last night, this morning, I was planning on going to my girlfriend's house to get Chinese, which I really wanted. But right before I left, there is tornado sirens and a warning. After watching the news, I thought it was just severe thunderstorms around me and not any tornadoes anywhere close. I went ahead and left my house to go to hers. It was raining very hard with a lot of thunder and dark skies. About 5 minutes into my drive, I got one of those tornado warnings on my phone that read, 'Pull over now, tornado warning.' I disregarded it as I thought it was for all surrounding areas. Just a few minutes later, I noticed wind picking up and starting to go crazy. Stoplights were upside down from wind. Sparks were flying from the hospital electrical transformer and debris was legit flying everywhere. I just kept going thinking it was normal thunderstorm stuff. It wasn't until I got calls from my mom and close ones that I was legit under a tornado. That's when wind picked up super bad and I felt my car kind of sliding, but not much. My girlfriend called and frantically called me telling me the tornado was practically on top of me. I just told her I loved her and hauled butt to my buddy's house who was nearby. I made it there safely, but not without a ton of trees falling and blocking the road. My girlfriend is mad at me for still trying to see her, but oh well. I can tell my kids when I have them later down the road. Hopefully a road without any tornadoes. See what I did there? I put a twist in the joke. Twist. Okay, I'm done making dad jokes. The car's fine, I'm fine, but my girlfriend's mad. For those curious, this was in Mason, Ohio, around 9 p.m. by Cedar Lodge. Look, let me tell you something, buddy. You can joke about it now, and I'm certainly glad that you're okay, but my God, this is one of the stupidest stories I have ever read. You can joke about it, but if you continue to be this reckless, you might not be around to have kids with your lovely girlfriend who has every right in the world to be upset with you right now. Illegal Sandwiches replied, "Yeah, this is a major today I freaked up. Lost a fellow co-worker this way a long time ago. Chinese with someone isn't worth it, and when there's a warning, especially in Armpit, Ohio, you take it seriously. Just north of you in Kazoo, Michigan, where I'm near, family lost 3 kids last night during the storms when a tree landed on their car. Glad you all are safe." Alright folks, that's all the time we got for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and comment down below. And if you want to check out any of our other videos, click the video on the right. All that said, I will see you all next time.